good morning. Welcome to Standard 10 Economics class. In the previous video, I had introduced you to the concept of demand. We have discussed about the concept of demand. We have discussed about the classification of demand, that is individual demand and the market demand. We have also discussed about the various factors that influence demand and the various types of demand. Now in this video, I am here to introduce to you the law of demand. This is what the law of demand states. Other things being equal, price and quantity demanded of commodities move in opposite direction. So it clearly indicates that price and quantities demanded are moving in opposite direction, in the sense that when there is an increase in price, there will be a decrease in demand. When there is decrease in price, there will be increase in demand. So mathematically, if we try to analyze, we understand that price is an independent variable and demand is a dependent variable. Now, law of demand clearly indicates the direction in which the demand is moving and not the magnitude of demand. Let me make it very clear to you. Now, it also assumes other things being equal, ceteris paribus, all other factors influencing demand being equal or being constant. What do I mean by that? Let me give an example of ice creams. We all like ice creams, right? So if I am very fond of ice cream, that is my taste and preference, say Baskin Robbins, which is available for 180 rupees a scoop, my income hasn't increased, but still I will buy the required quantity. If at all the price increases to 200 rupees, if my income permits, at this current income, whatever I am earning, if that permits, if my pocket is permitting me, I will go ahead and buy that scoop. If it doesn't, I won't. So other things remaining, other factors, we have already learned about the determinants of demand. I don't want to repeat it once again. So we have learned that income of the consumer, the taste and preferences of the consumer, the size of the population, the prices of related goods, the substitute products or the complementary products. All these factors, all these determinants of demand, they remain constant, but the only two variables, that is the price and demand, they keep on changing. And let me make it very clear that it is not the demand that is changing the price, it is the price that is changing the demand. Alright? To summarize whatever I have explained now, let us derive the features of law of demand. Here it is. It is clearly establishing an inverse relationship between price and demand for a commodity. Price and demand are inversely proportionate. Increase in price, decrease in demand. Decrease in price, increase in demand. It indicates only the direction of demand and not its magnitude. I just mentioned to you. It only shows with the change in price. It's the price that is changing. And because the price is changing, the capacity of purchasing the product is also changing. Quantities demanded is nothing else but our purchasing power. If our pockets permit, we will buy it. If it doesn't permit, we will not buy it. Mangoes for that matter. When mangoes are very expensive, people who can afford to shell out money, they are buying it. They who cannot afford to buy mangoes for 2000 rupees a dozen, they won't. They will buy it later when the prices will come down. So that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you, that it is the price, the change in price is causing the demand to change. When all the other factors, that is the income remains the same, taste remains the same, but the quantities keep on changing with the change in price. That's exactly what law of demand is trying to state. So it is only indicating if the demand is increasing or it is decreasing with the change in price, and not the magnitude. How much? No, that it will not tell us. The law assumes that other factors influencing demand to remain constant and explains the change in demand for a commodity due to change in price. So I have already explained to you, ceteris paribus, these are assumptions. Law assumes other factors will remain the same. What is going to change is price, and because of the price, the demand for various commodities will also differ. Income will remain constant. Taste and preferences will remain the same. The size of population also it assumes to remain the same. The prices of related goods like substitute products like tea and coffee, complementary goods. Okay, so all these factors, they will remain the same, but what is going to make demand change, demand for a commodity change, is the change in price. Fine. It explains the effect of change in price on demand and not the effect of change in price, change in demand on price. I have already said it is the price that makes the change in demand. So here we go on to the assumptions. Let us check out what are these factors. What does it assume? I have already mentioned to you. Let us run through. So we have the income. According to the law of demand, income of consumers remain constant. No change in income of consumer. No change in taste and preferences. Consumers will not speculate about the change in price in the near future. It happened now during the lockdown. We know that the whole world is engulfed with COVID disease. We are all locked up in our houses. So there was a time when there were a lot of restrictions imposed on us that we were not allowed to step out of our houses. So at that time, and what are the items that we require? Forget about groceries. We need more. We were always longing to buy gloves, masks, sanitizers, hand washes. These products were in great demand. And they were very expensive. And people were buying them. There were some people who assumed, they speculated, they assumed that probably the price may increase in the near future. So why not buy 10 more bottles of sanitizer and keep? That's speculation. So all those factors remain constant. Then price of related goods, that is your complementary goods, your substitute goods, that will also remain constant. Size of population. So these are the factors that influence demand. We can even call them as demand function. I mentioned this to you in the previous video. So law of demand assumes that all the factors remain constant, but what is changing? It is the price that causes the change in demand. So to understand, to make the law of demand more intelligible, to make it more understandable, just now I said that law of demand states that price and demand are inversely proportionate to each other. Increase in price, decrease in demand. Decrease in price, increase in demand. So this law of demand, you can understand it much better with the help of a demand schedule and a demand curve. So these are instrumental in learning law of demand. So what do you understand by a demand schedule? It is nothing else but a tabular representation of the information on price and demand for various commodities. So we can say that it summarizes different quantities of commodity demanded by a particular individual household at a different price at a given time. So this is your individual demand schedule. We have learned about individual demand and market demand. So we have, to study law of demand, we can make use of an individual demand schedule, and then we can progress further and study the market demand. So individual demand schedule is a summary of different quantities an individual will purchase at a given period of time at different prices. So milk, for example, if Mr. A is purchasing 2 liters of milk when it is sold for 20 rupees, but if the price of milk increases, he may cut down on his consumption. He will only buy 1 liter. Say for instance, the milk has now become expensive. It has increased by 200% and now available for 40 rupees a packet. So if his income does not permit him, probably he will either decrease the consumption, or it could be the other way around also, if it permits. Okay, so this quantities, the quantities which people are purchasing, that is represented in a tabular form, and that is called as individual demand schedule. So So here I have a hypothetical individual demand schedule for you. So you can actually study the inverse relationship between the price and demand. You can see that when the price is low, that is 50%, this take for example, this is some commodity X. When the price of X is only 50 paise, this individual is purchasing 7 units of that commodity. But as the price go on increasing, that is when it reaches 3 rupees, then you can see the effect on the quantity of demand. He is only buying 1 unit. Now this tabular information on price and demand, it can be represented graphically and in order to obtain or in order to draw your demand curve. These are two, schedule and curve are very, very important. They are instrumental in studying the law of demand. So whatever information the schedule is furnishing, that can be plotted on a graph to draw the demand curve. So you can have a look at it. You can see it. And you can also see that demand curve is moving downwards to the right. It slopes downwards. See the slope. You can see the slope, how it slopes downwards. Let's talk about the market demand schedule. What does that mean? It is the quantity of goods demanded by all the individuals or all consumers that are there in the market at different prices at a given period of time. So we can say that market demand schedule summarizes the different quantities of commodity demanded by all consumers in the market at all possible prices at given period of time. You have this diagrams here. More than these diagrams, you will understand better with the market demand schedule. I have previously shown you a individual demand schedule. So that information was then used to plot on the graph in order to draw the demand curve. So here we have the market demand schedule. What does that mean? Simple understanding. It is nothing else but horizontal summation or addition of individual demand. If I am purchasing 2 liters of milk for 20 rupees, somebody else is purchasing 3 liters of milk for 20 rupees. Somebody else will be purchasing 5 liters of milk. So when you add 2 plus 3 plus 5, that will be your market demand. So you can clearly read it out here. This is some commodity. Say I have given it, I am calling it as product P. When product P is available for 15 rupees, you can see the variations in quantity. Mr. A is one consumer, Mr. B is another consumer. Now Mr. A, when the price of this product is 15 rupees, when it is sold for 15 rupees, Mr. A is buying 15 units. Whereas Mr. B is buying 16 units, and so on and so forth. You can read it for yourself. But when the price reaches the peak, which is 30 rupees, the quantities are decreasing, 4 and 5. Now how are we going to calculate the market schedule? It is by adding. I have shown you, just have a look at the 4th column there. You can see the addition. So if we are supposed to derive the market schedule, we will say that when the price is 15 rupees, the quantities demanded in the market is 31. But when the price reaches the peak, which is 30 rupees, then the market demand drops. Okay, it completely drops to 9. So this can be represented here on the graph, where I'm going to say you can represent it graphically and we can obtain this demand curve. Just have a look at the demand curve. It slopes downwards to the right. So this is the information that was furnished in the market schedule in the previous slide. We have used the same to plot it, and this is how we can obtain our market demand curve. So you can easily understand. There are certain things that you need to remember as far as demand schedule and demand curve is concerned. Demand schedule or curve does not tell what the price is. It only tells the quantity of commodities demanded at various possible prices. You must have understood what I am trying to say here. You have seen that Mr. A, in the individual demand schedule, the previous slide, when the commodity was available for 50 paise, he was buying a certain number of, say, 7 units were purchased. But when the commodity, the price of the commodity increases to 3 rupees, the quantity demanded decreases. So you can easily see how it is in, the relationship between price and demand is inverse. It is negative. Increase in demand, decrease in demand, decrease in price. Increase in price, decrease in demand. That's how it is. Individual demand may remain irresponsible, or it may not respond to the change in price. Baskin Robbins. Some of us love Baskin Robbins, right? Ice cream. So even if it is available for 200 rupees a scoop, some of us will not mind, we'll just go ahead. So demand for Baskin Robbins, because of people like us who love Baskin Robbins, and irrespective of the rise in price, the demand for Baskin Robbins will increase. So individual demand, it may sometimes not respond to the price. It may not respond to that thing. People who cannot afford to buy, they will not buy. Those who can, they will go ahead. So individual demand may remain irresponsible to price, but market demand generally has inverse relation with the price. We have seen that in the previous slide. When the commodity, the market demand, you can actually read the inverse relationship when you are reading a market demand schedule. When the price was 15 rupees, you can see the quantities that were demanded. But when the price reached the peak, which is 30 rupees, the quantities decrease. So market demand schedule will give you the actual picture of the demand. Individual demand schedule, it depends on the individual. Again, there are various other factors. Some people are not concerned about the price. Even if the price is increasing, they continue to purchase. There are exceptions which we are going to cover later. So now, let us understand the causes for the downward sloping of the demand curve to the right. We have seen, I have already shown you what is a demand curve. Demand curve is very instrumental in learning the law of demand. A demand curve moves downwards, it slopes downwards to the right because of the inverse relationship between price and demand. Again, I am repeating it. Increase in price, decrease in demand. Decrease in price, increase in demand. That's the inverse relationship, and because of this inverse relationship, you can see the demand curve sloping downwards to the right. There are certain causes or reasons for this sloping downwards. The first reason being the law of diminishing marginal utility. In Standard 9, we have learned what is utility. Just recap what we have learned last year. Utility is the capacity of any commodity to satisfy human wants. So we have total utility and the marginal utility. Like if I am thirsty, I drink 2 glasses of water, I feel content. Ha! So that feeling of ha, that is your total utility. But if I go on adding, if I go on drinking additional glasses, I will come to a point where I will throw up. It is because that every additional glass I am drinking, my utility or use of water is decreasing, it is diminishing. This is the law of diminishing marginal utility. And diminishing marginal utility has an impact, or it does affect law of demand. Mangoes, for example, when mangoes it's a seasonal fruit. When it is just introduced in the market and sold at skyrocketing prices, you can see how people are pouncing on them. Despite of being sold for 1,500 or 2,000 rupees a dozen, people are purchasing mangoes. But as time rolled by and the prices begin to decrease, you will find that demand is also falling. There may be many people who will not purchase because they are now happy, they are content having the fruit. So that is diminishing law of marginal utility, which affects the law of demand. So once people feel content, they are happy, they are totally satisfied, they will stop buying the goods. They will not purchase it. So that's how law of demand is affected by law of diminishing marginal utility. Income effect, very much. Increase in your income or decrease in your income will definitely have an impact on the quantity of commodities that you purchase. Rather, I would say your income will determine your purchasing capacity, your purchasing power. So if my income is not increasing and if prices of certain luxuries or comforts are increasing, probably I will cut down, I will not use them. I will only focus on satisfying my necessities. So that's the income effect. So, I may not buy a high-end phone, or I will not buy some expensive cookies. I can buy a simple Marie biscuit. Okay, so income effect does have an impact on the law of demand. If your income is increasing, okay, in the previous video I gave an example of your normal goods and inferior goods. When my income, when I am earning a decent amount, I mean to say, and if my pocket permit me to purchase broccoli, for me cauliflower is inferior good, broccoli will be a normal good. Okay, so income effect does have an impact. It does affect the law of demand. Substitution effect. Substitution of cheaper goods for expensive ones. Tea and coffee. Let's take this old example because we understand that better. If I prefer coffee, I will purchase coffee. But when I see that the prices of coffee is increasing, my income is not increasing. So now I will switch on to a cheaper good, which is tea. So these are the reasons for the downward sloping of the demand curve to the right. So let me summarize this once again for you. First we said it is the law of diminishing marginal utility. I gave an example of drinking water. So diminishing marginal utility is what? If at all I'm thirsty, I drink 2 glasses of water, I feel content, total utility. If I go on adding glasses of, drinking additional glasses of water, a time will come when I will get averse and I will just throw up. So with every additional glass of water, my utility of water is diminishing. So that is law of diminishing utility, which does affect the law of demand. I hope I'm making myself clear here. So I gave an example of mangoes also. When mangoes are expensive, people just pounce on it. But when the prices go falling, when the price falls, you will find that demand is also falling. People are not buying it because now they are all happy eating the fruit. So that is law of diminishing marginal utility affecting law of demand. Income effect, in the sense like increase in income, decrease in income will determine the quantities that will purchase. And then the substitution effect. Now let us check out the exceptions to the law of demand. We know that law of demand clearly states it is establishing an inverse relationship between price and demand. Increase in price, decrease in demand. Decrease in price, increase in demand. This is the actual relationship between demand and price. When other factors influencing demand are constant, we should not forget ceteris paribus. Other things being equal, other things remain constant, change in demand will happen only with the change in price. Price is independent variable, demand is a dependent variable. Remember that. But there are exceptions to the law of demand also. Let me take an example of gold. The price of gold is escalating day by day. I'm not talking about the current moment, but yes, last year we have seen how gold was, the prices were increasing. But yet you will find a section of society purchasing gold. It was very conspicuous. So that is conspicuous consumption, where you can see, despite of the increase in price, people are increasing the quantities that they are purchasing. So more the price of gold, more will be the demand for gold. So that is your conspicuous consumption. Even mangoes we can take here. If mangoes are being sold for 2,000 rupees a dozen, you will find so many people who will flaunt their economic power by spending 2,000 rupees. So that's conspicuous consumption. Bandwagon effect. This is taste and preference. Ice creams. Let's take an example of Baskin Robbins. Very expensive ice cream, but even if they increase the price from 180 rupees a scoop, if it increases to 200 rupees, there will be some crazy people who will still buy a scoop. So increase in price, increase in demand, exception to the law of demand. Bandwagon effect. Then we have the snob effect. There are some people who are very conscious, about their status in the society. So they feel that if mangoes are available now in the market for 200 rupees, and if they purchase it now, people will feel that they could not afford to purchase when it was expensive, and that is why they are purchasing it now. So they will refrain from purchasing mangoes. So what is happening here? Decrease in price, decrease in demand, exception to the law of demand. This is directly here. Exception is a situation where demand and price are directly proportionate to each other and not inversely. Inverse is the original law of demand. Alright? Veblen effect, Veblen effect, your branded products can be the best example here. Now sports shoes are available in the market. There are so many indigenous brands that are there, but yet we choose to buy Nike shoes, Puma, Adidas. Despite of the fact that these shoes are sold at skyrocketing prices, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, yet we buy them. Why? It's because we feel that branded products are always durable, they are long lasting, they are very comfortable, they are user friendly. So we choose to buy branded products. So we have a section of people in the society who are very, very brand conscious, and they don't mind the increase in price. They will continue to purchase the same commodity. So increase in price, increase in demand. Decrease in price, decrease in demand. This is an exception to the original law of demand. Insignificant share. So that is the Veblen effect I have explained to you. Okay, you can take an example of your branded products, of being brand conscious. Next is the insignificant share in consumers' budget. Salt, very, very indispensable in the kitchen. So whether the price of salt is increasing or it is decreasing, doesn't matter to us. We have to buy it. Otherwise the food will be insipid. So salt has an insignificant share in our budget. So that's an exception to the law of demand. Speculative activities. We speculate a lot. It is happening currently during the lockdown. Isn't it? We speculated that masks, the price of masks or the sanitizers that we use, alright, hand washes, they might increase in the near future. So most of us bought many bottles of sanitizers well in advance at the current price, and we have kept it. Although we know that even at this existing moment, okay, at this period of time, this commodity is very, very expensive. It is expensive. So even at high prices, demand for this commodity is also very high. So that's because of speculative activities. People expected the price. They expected that these commodities may be very expensive in the long run. Another 1 month and it will be really very expensive. So why not buy large quantities now and hold? So that is again. So here what is happening? High price, high demand. So that is an exception to the law of demand. Giffen effect. This is something very, very important. Now this Giffen effect, it has got its name after Sir Robert Giffen, who was a British economist. So Sir Robert Giffen, he made this observation that poor people in England, their staple diet constituted of bread and meat. So he made this observation in the 19th century in England as well as in Ireland also. He found that people, the poor in England, they depended, their staple diet constituted of bread and meat. Meat was very expensive, bread was cheaper. But when the price of bread began to increase, these poor people, they cut down their consumption of meat, they stopped buying meat, and they shifted that amount which they would spend on buying meat, that amount was also used for buying this inferior product which is bread. So it was a peculiar kind of consumer behavior where consumer is using an inferior commodity more, even if the price of that inferior commodity is increasing. Another observation he made in Ireland was the Irish people were fond of potatoes and meat. That was their staple diet at that time. So when meat became very expensive, they shifted that amount to buy more potatoes, which was an inferior commodities. So this was called, so these commodities, these inferior commodities that were consumed by people, they came to be known as the Giffen goods. There is a difference between Giffen good and an inferior good. Okay, I gave an example of broccoli and cauliflower. So when my income increased, okay, I felt that broccoli was a normal good for me, whereas cauliflower is an inferior good for me. Okay, so inferior goods are generally affected by your income effect. And there is a substitution effect also. But in the case of Giffen, it is Giffen goods, they are mostly affected by the income effect. If your money, your pocket does not permit you to buy something which is very expensive, so what do? You are stopping to buy that expensive good. You are using that money to purchase the commodity which is much inferior to that. So even if the price of that commodity, that inferior good is increasing, you are willing to invest more in purchasing that commodity. So such goods are called as the Giffen goods. So they are affected by income effect. So these are some of the exceptions to the law of demand. So we conclude the session over here. I will continue with this topic in the next video. Thanks a lot.